I know you know that gender-based violence is still a very serious problem in Nigeria. This is why we've been calling on the government, particularly the state government, to budget and spend more on gender-based violence prevention and response, because it is the lack of or the insufficient funding of gender-based violence prevention and response. That's why we have issues like ineffective preventive program, inadequate support services for survivors, insufficient legal and judicial response, and even fewer numbers of campaigns on gender-based violence. In fact, research has shown that gender-based violence costs a country 1 to 4% of its GDP in direct costs. That is for provision of healthcare, law enforcement, legal services, and even indirect costs like lost productivity and low economic participation of the survivors. This is why investing in gender-based violence prevention and response will save a country billions in terms of its economic and social cost on a long-term basis. In practical terms, increased budget and spending on gender-based violence prevention and response means that we are going to have more sexual assault referral centers, more shelters, better provision of services for survivors of gender-based violence, legal aid services, medical care, psychosocial support, and even much more campaigns and public awareness on gender-based violence. So the question is, how much should a country or a state budget or spend on gender-based violence prevention and response? Well, that depends on many factors, such as the state population, the prevalence rate of gender-based violence, the availability of services, and even, of course, inflation. However, based on international benchmark and considering the fact that Nigeria is a low middle income country, the ideal budgetary allocation should be at least $5 to $10 per capita on an annual basis. That means based on today's exchange rate, we are talking about 7,500 to 15,000 naira budgeted and spent per capita on an annual basis. Unfortunately, looking at the 2024 Womanity Index, the figures on budget and spending are nothing to write home about. So this is to remind the government, particularly state government, that where your heart is, that's where your money goes. If we want to know what you prioritize, we simply need to look at what you budget for and spend on.